Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our budget meeting. We'll start off where we left off with Shelley here. So if you want to kind of go and go from there.
Thank you through the chair to mayor and council. So at the last budget meeting, we basically went through all of the changes to that we had since from the 2021 budget. We did it in 3 sections. We looked at base budget changes, then decision packages, and then all the capital additions. From that point, we were ready to discuss anything at this point. However, from that meeting, there was one change that happened, and that was in the decision packages. That amount was lowered by about $5,073, and that was the change, the removal of the decision package that we had proposed for the increase in the Brooks Public Library. They did do a presentation to council right after the budget meeting indicating that they weren't requesting an additional amount to their requisition, so that decision package was taken out. And with that, the final change brings the total percentage of increase of revenues that we would be collecting for property taxes to 3.82%, and that includes a 2.1% increase for the RCMP and a 1.72% increase for other inflationary initiatives and proposals, and that is where we were at with that.
Okay, yeah, I think we'll start with.
Please remain seated until all adjustments in the row in front of you have moved towards the exit. You may then stand and receive your carry-on baggage. If you are exiting onto the ramp today, please be careful, watch your step, and follow the directions of the Western.
Okay.
I thought that was a fire alarm.
Okay, we'll start with the base budgets and we'll go from there and then to the decision packages and then capital here. So with the base budgets here then.
So 1.4 for Rcmp?
So I'm not sure if you want me to just list them off, but if there's any base budget changes that are there that council wants to discuss or ask questions, then this would be the opportunity for them to do that.
Okay, the floor is open. No questions? Okay, I'll start. I'll go then. The Christmas Gala, last year we eliminated it. Well, in fact, the last 2 years we eliminated it because of COVID. And they budget about 21,000. Where do we go with that? Councilor,
Are you asking to bring it back, or
well, yeah, well, I want to know, yeah.
Or do we
yeah,
delay it again?
Yeah, if we bring it back or if we leave it off the table here. Let's debate whether we bring it back or leave it off the table. Bringing it back, it gives, to me, it's
Morale boost.
It brings all the staff together, but more importantly, it also we give an opportunity there to honor the people on our boards. You know, the volunteers on the boards. They're always invited to those too. Not all the staff attend these either, but you know, from the ones I've been at, I mean, it seems like it's a pretty big deal for staff. But I can maybe get some input from maybe the staff or the other councilors. Okay, Councilor Nesbitt.
My input is it's great to have it. I think we should cancel it this year, maybe in the spring. COVID numbers are still rising. We got another variant. It's not that safe. I think we would be frowned upon if we brought that up again.
Yeah, we won't have it this year. Like 21, we're not doing it this year. We're talking about December of 2022.
How can we possibly make a decision a year away?
Well, we do with our budgets all the time, though.
Yeah.
About a
Well, I
year
mean,
away.
keep
But-
it in the budget. We're hopefully gonna, we thought it'd be gone now.
Yeah, the question is, do we keep it in the budget for December of 2022, or do we leave it off the table?
My boss wants to say something.
Okay,
Thank you, through the chair and mayor and council. Last year, we deleted it from the base budget, so it is not in the base budget at all for 2022. So if you bring it back, you're bringing this expense back into 2022.
yeah, Council
Yeah,
Jessica.
so I've thought about this a little bit and did make some inquiries, because I guess I've been to a number of them as a representative of a board.
Yeah,
And the attendance did seem to be fairly good, but my question was whether the employees enjoyed it and appreciated it, and the feedback was that they did. And on the grand scale of things, it's a relatively minor expense and a way to show appreciation to them. So if the feeling is that the employees do actually get something out of it, I'd like to look at putting it back in.
Okay, and then going back to your question there, I mean, hopefully, we're out of the pandemic by then. I mean, if we run into a situation, we could always cancel it then, right?
Well,
But it's part of our base budget.
One of the
though.
situations I'd be concerned about is people saying that they're vaccinated when they're not, and those that can't go because they're not vaccinated. Like, I know it's a year away. We have no idea what's gonna happen. We're in the fourth wave already. It should be for everybody, but those that aren't vaccinated can't go. So it's something to consider.
Yeah, there's two ways to do that, either be vaccinated or have the test, but hopefully we're out of that by, in 12 months down the
Hopefully.
year, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
so we should probably put it in the budget, thinking that it's a year away, and, well, we're bound and determined it's gonna be gone by then, although we were gonna be bound and determined it's gonna be gone by now.
Yeah,
but,
I know, we're into two, yeah.
It's the unvaccinated that concerns me.
Yeah, go ahead, Shelley.
Sorry, I'll say that again, sorry. By adding the $21,632 back into the base budget for the Christmas party, that would bring our increase to an even 4% from the 3.82.
Okay, go ahead, Jessica. Yeah. No, go ahead, Ray, yeah, yeah.
No,
No,
no, if, I guess that's a decision they make, whether they're gonna be vaccinated or not, but restaurants now are functioning just fine, using the QR codes and everything else, so I don't think that's really a big risk. And I guess if we wanna economize, I think usually you get 2 drink tickets, and that's probably a substantial part of the cost, so we might look at eliminating one or even both of them, because I don't think that's really why the people are there, and I know a lot of people don't even use them. Though if they're not used, I don't think the expense is there.
Okay, yeah, bring the total down to 15,000 then? Well, you know what, I think there's sort of a magic number here. I think, once we get to that 4%, I mean, that's a tough one, eh? Like, I think we all kind of agreed at our last meeting there that we wanted it under 4% for a tax increase on that, right? Is that right?
Mhm.
Right, yeah. Yeah. Now, when we go there, that means all the other red here has to also be eliminated too then, to keep it under 4% on that end of it, unless we sort of, are there other areas to cut then, besides this? Or not do? Go ahead, yeah, Mom.
My thought on this is that rather than saying Christmas gala, like just specifically for one item, if we do, I like the idea of bringing the cost down a little bit. 2021 is a little bit maybe on the, I don't know, high end maybe. So we have also eliminated the 8,000. Is there anywhere else in the budget, or is there a line item that deals with hospitality or social or staff, like if you add it in a way, you make it around staff's appreciation and staff's, some sort of a staff thing, and then put a number that's a little bit less, maybe leave it at that 20,000, and that covers not only the Christmas gala, but also the idea of staff appreciation around other ways.
Go ahead, Shelley.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Address. So just for information purposes, when we reduced the staff wellness, and Amy can speak to this too if she wants to, but when we reduced the staff wellness last year by $8,052, what we did, where we came up with that money, is we kept $5,000 in the budget for staff wellness events and just that, just as you were speaking. So pretty much that's what's in the budget for staff wellness is $5,000 as it's proposed.
So I know, Amy, you want to say something, but I
Yeah,
want to
go
say-
ahead, Amy, yeah.
Through the chair to Councillor Idris, there is a separate line item for employee service awards that we would usually give out at the Christmas party. Obviously, the last 2 years we haven't. They've still received them. So that's an additional expense that's still in the budget for employee appreciation, as well as the gift cards that they get at Christmas time.
Okay. So my thought will be having some sort of maybe a little bit more than 5,000, a little bit less than 20,000, and have it a way that the staff also have that potential of putting it into a Christmas event.
Does that eliminate the volunteers on our boards, your plan?
My thought is including them as well.
Okay, so do we have like a formal function at the end of next year then, like?
Yeah.
But for 15,000?
But like, so lower the price in putting it all together in one line item.
Thoughts on that?
And have it flexible that it can be used towards that.
Go ahead, yeah, Marissa.
So like how many people would be attending this? My only thing is like, how much can we actually lower the cost if we're, like, because I'm assuming there's like a meal, right?
Yeah.
Is there a meal? So like, I would assume that most of this 20,000 is food, right? Like a big chunk of it would be, because I don't know how many people would be, because I'm making me like a number. Yeah. Amy.
Through the chair to Councillor Wardrop, I would say between 230 to 250 or 60. There's a lot of people that get invited, all of our board members, our staff, RCMP, volunteer firefighters, and you're correct, a large portion of the bill is for food.
Yeah.
So like I'm thinking, like I got married 10 years ago and it was like a modest, it was like $26 a plate. Like that was like quite a bit ago. So I imagine that most of this is food, right? So I'm not sure how much we could cut off from if we're gonna provide a meal is my only.
Yeah,
thinking.
you go down to 15, and then what are we serving, sandwiches? Yeah, well.
I don't know. That would be, that's my only thought is that it sounds, I would guess that the majority of it would be food. So it would have to really rethink what kind of event we'd be having. I would think that,
I know I can't put the staff on the spot there. I don't know what does staff think of it, but I don't want you guys to answer that, but that's the question I sort of pose on that, so. Go ahead there, Alan.
You know, everybody, probably some people like it, some people don't. I know when we're handing out awards to staff and we're handing out awards to the people that have retired from committees, about what percentage of those people are in attendance, Amy? Pretty, half maybe?
Yeah, I would say half or less sometimes. A lot of the time we have the awards sitting up at the front counter for them to pick up, and I probably still have some in my office that people haven't picked up. So for the new councillors who maybe haven't attended, the people retiring from the boards receive a little plaque, and then that's where our staff get the service awards. And most of the times, a large majority of staff are there, but Alan's correct that there's not always a lot of the board members in attendance to receive the awards.
Go ahead, Shelley.
So I do just have a little bit of information. In 2021, when the decision package came forward to council, it originally came as changes to the Christmas party. And what was being proposed, but as we passed the budget, it was eliminated. We proposed originally to reduce the Christmas party by $8,680. And the decision package read that that change could include less invitees, different menu options, no free drinks, no plaques for retiring board members, et cetera. So that's that was some of the work that Amy did to originally propose that. So that might give you a little bit of indication of what type of room there is for certain.
So with those changes, that brought it down to 21,000 then?
No, so that would have reduced the budget of 21,632 by 8,680. But instead, when the budget was passed, the whole 21,632 was removed from the budget.
Was removed, okay, so it would have brought it down to about 14 then, right? Is that right? Go ahead.
So just for point of clarification then, we're still giving out the awards. Our different departments are still, I think we still give gift cards to staff members, right? We're still doing, our different departments have some type of Christmas thing that you guys are still doing. Is that correct, or no? You guys canceled Christmas on all your departments? Okay. Okay. Just wanted some clarification on that. You guys all look so sad when you.
Scrooge.
Yeah. Okay. And then, so just on a side note, those meals would be about $86 a person if the 21,000 is going towards meals at 250 people. Just, that's what it was costing us for a meal, 86 roughly. But I don't think it is, but that's per person. Anyway. I think that this is an opportunity to revise maybe the way we've done it in the past, where more departments could maybe better utilize the funds, the Christmas money towards their department. And maybe it's looking at giving a little bit to each department to do the gift cards. Those, I think, to me, a gift card is sometimes a lot more valuable than a plaque, you know. I don't know. I think it could be an opportunity to relook at things and how we do the Christmas gala. In considering the pandemic isn't over, and just thinking about what John was saying of the number of people that maybe still won't attend. We're seeing attendance across the board on events down. I was just at a Christmas event this Friday at the Heritage, and their numbers were down for small businesses that were trying to participate. So I think everybody's rethinking how they do activities. So that's just my thought.
Go, Marissa, yeah.
I'm gonna disagree a little bit. It's kind of nice to actually come together. Like when we finally get to do an event after so long of COVID restrictions or whatever, and hopefully by next December, maybe we would be able to, you know, actually get together as a whole and celebrate together. It'd be nice when we get to do like small gatherings, little parties. I don't know. I find that lots of comments like, oh, it's so nice to finally, you know, get together, and it is a nice morale boost, and it's nice to recognize people's accomplishments. I think, Shelley, like what you said was like 14, 15,000. If we could, I don't know, find something. If we can't throw a party for $14,000, then I don't know. I'm sure we could find a way to do that. What would that look like? Would that make a dent in anything if we brought it to 14,000? I don't know.
Well, a little bit.
So, sorry. So through the chair to Councillor Wardrop. So I reduced it to 15,000, and that brought us down to 3.94%. So if I reduce it to 14,000, that 3.94 it stays at.
Go ahead, Joel.
So just a side note, if we're gonna, I would rather do the full amount then, because of rising costs are gonna be next year. You literally will be giving soup and sandwiches for the gala. Like, We're seeing price increase all the time, and a year from now, for a turkey dinner, roast beef, you know, whatever it is, I think the expenses will be there. So I'd rather see us stay at the same amount then and not reduce it.
Okay, my option, okay, here's another option. I'm just going to put this out here. I mean, it's to eliminate it, but I just want to find a way to make sure that our volunteers and our boards are recognized. And I don't know how we do that, whether it be through a gift card or something like that, you know, but I don't, or even a card or Christmas card. But that we would eliminate it altogether then. The staff still get their turkeys and their other things like that. Okay, that's my option, but I just want to make sure that the board members are looked after, and I don't know how we do that. I don't know, you know, that's always a tough one, because to buy a bunch of gift cards for people is difficult, because if somebody's been on a board for 3 years and one's been on there for a month, how do you decide that? But just a card might, as Jewel says, might you know, help there. So, okay, I'll put that out there, and then you guys, okay, go ahead, Mohammed.
What about an option with no dinner? We attended an event recently at the Heritage Inn, and there was a lot of fun, and people had and it was good. Well, have dinner and then come.
I think that event though still cost us $30 though to attend.
Yeah, it probably, yeah, if you do it at the Heritage, whatever, yeah, it still costs you, yeah.
I paid 50? Oh.
Okay, go ahead, Bill.
I think a lot of it is you got a lot of people that, you're inviting a lot of extra people, like your ex-mayors and some of the county and all these other people that really, is that necessary? Is it a town function, or
Yeah.
is it a function of the community?
Yeah.
You know, it's,
yeah.
to me, in the last few years, it's just expanded so big.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people there that really, I guess we're being nice guys, but is that really necessary?
Well, no, I think it should be a city function. I think it's our way of, like, employed staff and
I think it's
people on the
got- I think
boards.
it's-
I don't, yeah, I agree. But
It's got too big as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah.
because you've got everybody, you know, like, that's not even involved, because they're part of, they'll help this, whatever, but they're not staff or anything, so.
Well, do we do one, okay, here's the other option. Do we open it up, just do one for the staff and not the board members? Like, the other board members, and just do, because we would have 90 staff? 100 staff?
I think right now, sorry, through the chair to Mayor Petrie, I think right now we're about 110 to 115-ish
Yeah.
staff.
So yeah, if you just did a staff party and let's say you budgeted $100 per person, that'd be $11,500, right? And I mean, I say $100. I mean, that buys a pretty good meal and a few drinks just for staff. But then we don't do anything for our board members then. But I'm just throwing that option out there. Yeah, go ahead,
How
Bill.
many of the staff people actually show up? I think there's an awful lot that don't come at all. So if you changed it to a gift card or something to staff back, that I think would maybe cover everybody instead of just the ones that come to that. Right now, the ones that, you know, go out and party, whatever, they're getting the good deal, and the ones that don't, they're getting nothing out of it, so it's not really fair in another way either, so I think there's a better way to do it. This, you know, because it's got so big another hand, I think that it's time to revise it.
Plus spouses, don't forget, you know.
Oh,
staff.
yeah, no, you're
still
right on
up
that. Yeah,
there.
yeah,
You're still up there, so we
Yeah.
gotta decide.
yeah.
Maybe change the road.
Go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, so on these events, is there money lost because people don't show up? Like when everything is set up, you're saying expect so many people at so much ahead. So essentially, we only pay for the people that actually show up.
But the question, like I posed, was just, do we do it just for staff or do we do it for board members too? Staff, have to be staff and spouses. So really, if we've got 100, let's say 110 staff, we're still looking at 220 then. Yeah. And so then again, it's $50 per person is basically what you're budgeting for. Yeah.
Through the chair to Mayor Petrie, I can't remember off the top of my head how much the food was per person, but then we did do the 2 free drinks. We also pay for the room rental as well.
Yeah.
And then the plaques for the retiring board members. Now, I have been working on the policy where we recognize our board members, and working on it under the assumption that we won't have the Christmas party, or we wouldn't have the Christmas party anymore. There was some discussion of, inviting them to a council meeting for a certificate, similar to like what you said about the card, or posting all of their names and how long they've served on each board in the newspaper or something like that. So it just depends on how council would like to recognize them.
Okay. I'm going to just propose that we eliminate the, okay, go ahead there, but I'm going to propose we eliminate the Christmas party and go with your idea on recognizing board members, just because I don't want this, we've already consumed 25 minutes on a $20,000 thing. So I'm going to propose that. You guys can nix it or go ahead with it, whatever, but go, your thoughts. Okay, nix it and go with Amy's plan to recognize our board members at the council meeting. I think that's a great idea. I think they would get probably more out of that there too.
I agree.
And then just have something for the staff only?
No.
Or nothing?
No, they all, the staff already, you already get a gift card and a turkey and all that, or whatever they get. So the staff already get it. Okay, Alan.
The staff, all the staff do get, not a turkey, but a gift card, and they could use it for a turkey.
Turkey, okay,
Whatever,
yeah.
so
Okay.
we already do get something.
Okay. Are we fine? Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
I agree.
Scrooge?
I would support that. I'm not you mentioned it once about cutting Christmas, and then, but I also think that we can encourage our boards to do parties, get-togethers. I think I serve on a couple boards here.
Yeah.
And we get together for, do a little exchange of Christmas stuff. So it's good, right? I know it's not the big thing, but times are different now, and so I would support that.
Oh, okay, yeah, same here. All in agreement with that thing there? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, we don't. No, it's a discussion here. Okay, any of the other, because on your sheet there's a lot of red. Anything you want to bring back on that? Any, like from staff or Alan, anything we should bring back on that then?
I don't think so. I believe a lot of these suggestions last year when council did say we needed to cut the numbers, I think this all came from staff.
Okay.
Am I right, Shelley? These were recommendations from staff, so.
Okay. Anything else in the base budget here, you guys? Where do we go from here then?
Decision packages.
Okay, okay. Oh, go ahead,
So
Shelley.
just for clarity, so there's no changes made to what was originally proposed?
No,
Perfect.
yeah.
Thank you.
So, yeah, okay. Okay, we're,
Decision packages next
Yeah.
will be discussed.
can I start off? Okay, I'm going to propose, since we don't have the library one, the 5,000 there, that we take that 5,000. I want to take 5,000 from Makerspace and give to Arts, Culture, and Heritage for their committee there to foster arts, culture, and heritage projects in the community there. That's $10,000. And the idea behind that would be that the committee then decides that, let's say, Tumbleweed, or let's say somebody wants to start a jazz festival in town or a fringe festival. And the idea behind this is that we give that project seed money where with hope, and that would probably maybe be part of the policy, that within 2 or 3 years, these projects become self-sufficient. And the nice thing about this compared to, let's say, Makerspace is that it would go back to those committees that are organic. There's no paid employees to, let's say, the sagebrush, thistle people, or, so there's no paid employee in any of what I'm proposing here. Unlike Makerspace or people that are familiar with Ashton's Place, you had a building, you had paid employees, and my idea, if we go ahead with this next year, give them 2 or 3 years to see what happens with this in the community, and if it doesn't work, it's easy to take away. So it's not like we're depending on anybody's livelihood in that. So, okay, that's, since I was the first out of the gate, that's sort of what I'm proposing. By the way, Makerspace, For those are familiar, and Councillor Prentice and Nesbitt and myself would have been on there, I think, when on our first budget. This was supposed to be started and be self-sufficient within 2 years. It was never self-sufficient in 2 years. It's been 4 years now. They do get $50,000 from FCSS on that, and I know it goes through spec, but I believe there's still enough money in there for that organization to work as it's fostered through spec there. They get $50,000 from FCSS, and they get $20,000 from us. They also get another $20,000 from us because we give them the facility for free and pay for that. So now I'll see where I go with this here. Okay. Any objections to that? Okay, you got two, okay. Ray?
I don't mind, we got that information on the budget. We did get that information on the budgets for BAPS and for SPEC, and it looked like SPEC had pretty substantial reserves, if I understood what I was seeing, so I don't really have any problem in taking something away from there. Maybe even more. From those same documents, I do hate to see a decrease in BAPS funding. And I guess the one thing that I'm looking at here is the lights at the pool. So I use the pool myself. I do remember when the pool did have lights and then when it doesn't have lights. And I guess my question for Natasha would be, the impetus to put it there, is that all internal, or are insurance agencies saying we should have them? Because I was there Thursday swimming, and then I also had a look at it there, and it'd be pretty hard not to see anybody lying on the bottom of the pool as it is right now, because the bottom is very light. And there's 4 lights on each side, so whether they're going to make that much of a difference in that situation, has there ever been a situation where they would have made a difference for somebody in the pool?
Yeah, I'm just going to backtrack a little bit here. Do we want to go through these individually here? That's what I was thinking of doing. And how does it affect our tax rate? Like, if we included all these, that's 100,000, it shouldn't affect anything, should it? Like our number, our 3.82 or whatever, or
Yeah, so if we added back the 5,000 that we originally had for the library, it would just bring it up to the 3.86.
Right. So whatever we do here, like these are all included in the 3.86.
Yeah, that's correct.
So that's what I'm saying. So you could go for the lights that are included in that, and that would be included in our thing here. So I was just lobbying for something else there.
Okay, so will we continue and come back to them as an individual item? Or
Well,
because we are trying to cut things too. And
Yeah,
move things
okay,
around.
yeah, and I sort of took from the library to give to Arts, Heritage, and Culture, the 5 from the library, which we weren't going to use anyway. I'd take 5 from Makerspace, that was to bring that down to 35, you know, and then that, it's still even Steven. It's not going to, there's no mill rate increase because of what I did. I just moved some numbers around on that. And then we can kind of go down, then we can kind of go through that, yeah. But the lights would still be included in that, right, Shelley? Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, you still get the lights there then, Ray.
Well, so I guess, so what is the goal here, though? To try it at the end, when we're done here, to come up with the same number, or if there are opportunities to reduce that number?
Well, no, the goal would be that, I mean, if there's something on here that we don't think should be on here, we can eliminate, or maybe there's something else like I just proposed, you know, to bring forward on that too. Then if we bring something forward, we have to realize the consequence is a tax increase then. So, or we have to eliminate something along here too, eh? So that, go ahead.
Let's go back to what you first proposed with the arts, culture, and heritage. Did they present? I don't remember even seeing anything from them in this. So you're introducing something new to the budget that we never even got a proposal for.
No, you didn't, but, you know, and I campaigned on that. I just
Well, I
think-
understand, yeah.
Yeah, I just believe that we don't, you know, contribute enough to arts, culture, and heritage in this community here. We contribute a lot, you know, I mean, Makerspace, look what we've done with them over, you know, that's $80,000, you know, that we've contributed to them. You know, and look what we do for sports in this community here. I'm asking for just a small, real percentage on here,
So-
but I want to take, we talked about this at our committee. But they haven't made a formal presentation. But it's hard for them now to do that because it wouldn't be in the budget until next year.
Right. So my concern though is that we're gonna take money from, I understand the library, because that's getting clawed back. But then you wanna take it from Makerspace, where we got a report of the success that they've done with the 20,000 that we give them. I understand we give them rent subsidies, but we also, they saw 400 and some kids go through their door or more during a pandemic to learn computer skills, to learn art. They learn programs, and I think that would be, and that doesn't go to wages, that goes towards their programs of computers, teaching underprivileged kids some great skills and community building. So I would wrestle with that.
Okay, Marissa, yeah.
Yeah, I am in favor, strong favor actually, of giving the $10,000 for arts, culture, and heritage. And that's not to say that like Makerspace is a really great program, and so is like the library. I mean, if we take anything from any of our excellent programs, we do it, I think, carefully. But $5,000 is such a small amount, you know. I don't know, when we survey the public and I guess during the campaign too, a lot of things that I was hearing was, you know, I want to do more things, there's nothing to do here, or, you know, comments about, like, we want to see more things like Taste of Nations, like some kind of art gallery. Which we have. You know what? I don't know, I would argue that we don't invest though in that way, like with what money, right? Like
Go ahead, Shelley.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your great conversation. I did just get a note, just a comment from Lisa, and she had suggested that there could possibly be room in the EcoBrooks budget as opposed to Makerspace, which is just something that she passed on from telepathically to me.
So would there be 5,000 in that?
So currently there's about 15,000 in the EcoBrooks budget, and we did reduce it a few years ago. Oh, there's Lisa there. I don't know. Are you able to speak, Lisa?
Yeah, I can. Thanks, everyone, and thanks for your patience. We do have a little bit of extra spending money in the EcoBrooks budget. Traditionally, it had been a $20,000 operating budget, and in the past years, we had reduced it to $15,000. And since then, we really haven't spent the majority of that budget. This year, I think they've spent about less than $1,000, so there would be room in the 2022 budget to reduce it by, $5,000, and then we could see how the arts, culture, and heritage idea goes too. A lot of the programs that they work on right now are larger energy conservation projects, and the funding comes from elsewhere.
Councilor Goodenough?
So just, I like that. I served on EcoBrooks for 2 years, and they did find quite often a struggle to spend all the money that was given to them. And I think we did cut their budget to help pay for the one staff member to contribute towards that, our staff member here. So that would be an interesting move. I would also just like to say, I think in a time where we deal with kids' mental health, I don't think cutting that project or some of their budget for those youth is a healthy decision. The amount of kids that go through there, it's like we funded Ashton's Place and we supported it, and then we cut the funding, and then we wonder why there's problems. And I think that would be, we're just going to be contributing down the road to struggles with kids. For arts and culture, I think that obviously it's an important thing. I don't deny it, but why don't we can look at shifting some of the funds, like Lisa was saying there, or even looking at shifting some of our funds from Communities in Bloom. I know that's our sacred cow in the community, but we can shift some of our funds there. There's opportunity. I would just hate to see our youth be affected by this in the computer aspects of things.
Go ahead, Marissa, then, yeah.
Absolutely, I hear your point, and I agree with you, mental health and youth, but what about like mental health and young adults and other people who live in our community, seniors, like, you know, there are limited things to do for entertainment in the city, and I think we should invest in that, and I'm not saying we should slash, you know, programming funding for any of these programs, but, you know, I don't know, I think, and a little bit would go such a long way, too. Like,
yeah.
it's not like you need a whole lot, but they need something. Like, it just seems like we take care of, like, you know, we take care of the sports, we take care of, you know, all these other programs, and this one's just really neglected. And, you know, you go to different, you know, living in Lethbridge or Calgary, I know those are larger centers, but there's just a different, there's a different culture there where, you know, you can go out for entertainment that doesn't involve, as an adult, right? Like a movie theater or a bar or something. Yeah.
So my thought though too with the arts though is, and this is just my opinion, we've got a lot of great businesses a lot of great people that have, that's their business. So we've got the clay plate, Burnt Earth, did that last week, was great, you know, cost me a little bit of money. But there's art things out there that do cost money. I'm just not sure if taxpayers should be supporting that. And maybe that's my view. We've got Red Roof Studio, we've got the what's not Shakespeare in the Park, but that group.
Tumbleweed Theater.
Tumbleweed Theater, volunteer run, volunteer based. They apply for provincial grants, federal grants. I think there's finances out there. So just wrestling with that.
Okay.
Sorry, John.
No, just a couple of things. Just a couple of things. First of all, when we talk about mental health, you have to realize that a lot of kids are involved in that. What about the young musician or the young artist too? So, I mean, makerspace is more the technical end of it. I'm looking also at younger people, the young artist, the young musician, the young singer that maybe has an opportunity to take advantage of this. Now, your other question there about the free enterprise system, we can say that with our rec facilities too. We can say, well, let's just put it out to, because there's private ones to do that too, the way. But, okay, anyway, okay, did you have a question there, Ray, or no? Okay, so I'm willing, I'll sacrifice the 5,000 then from Makerspace if I can get 5,000 from Eco Brooks and the 5,000 from the library for the 10 grand. Okay, go ahead, Ray.
I guess I'm just looking at the financials for spec. They've got a pot of money, and they showed up as, like Makerspace, they started the year with 26,000. They finished it with 26. Essentially, they're not running it. They'd be running at a deficit, but they certainly, if we didn't give them the 10, but they certainly have other resources unless they're not available for more than one purpose. Like you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in reserves.
Yeah, go ahead there, Joe.
I can't speak to Makerspace per se, but a lot of times when you apply for grants, the money that's there, it's designated, just like in the city budgets, we apply for grants. You can't just spend it anywhere you want. And so I would argue that maybe those reserves are there for specific projects or for staffing or salaries. But then we need to invite the spec team to come in. I know they've given us a bid thing, but they should probably come in and present on why they have so much money.
Yeah, okay, Mohammed? Yeah, go ahead, Mohammed.
Good discussions. My thoughts are to go with the 10,000, but as we said, take the 5,000 from Eco Brooks and the 5,000 from the library, and have it as an experiment year, because we don't know what is going to be the intake, what's that.
Yeah.
In terms of spec and the makerspace, if it was in the plan to go and become more sustainable, maybe we need to talk to them about how can we help you to be more sustainable. So our funding, we keep the funding as it is for now, but we talk to them about, how can we start somehow decreasing this funding to actually even help you be more sustainable.
I agree. Just two things there. About, for arts, culture, and heritage, I think we have to give them 3 years. And 3 years will take us into the, our fourth budget period there. I don't think you can do that and say, you got to do something within 1 year. We've given Makerspace 4 years to be sustainable, and they haven't. But secondly, I agree with you there. We have to look at, because when they came here, it was a 2-year thing, and they were going to be self-sustaining, and I agree that we have to find a way that they have to come up with a plan that they're going to be self-sustaining within so many years, instead of coming back to us for money all the time, and then they're going to FCSS, and they're going, I know it's a spec-operated one, but yeah.
So I didn't mean the 10,000 just for 1 year, but I meant as a first year, we give them the 10,000, maybe in the next year we give them more, or like based on, as Joel said, we haven't even heard from them in terms of what are they going to do. So maybe it will take them some time to even figure out how are they going to do this money and all of the different things. So.
Okay. Are we fine with that there? Can you live with that, Joel? Can you live with that, Ray? Well, we're gonna take 5,000 from Eco Brooks, and then we had that 5,000 that the library didn't have, so and then that will go to arts, culture, and heritage, yeah, to foster projects, in Brooks there. Is everybody happy with that one?
So Makerspace is still getting 39,000?
Yeah, they are, yeah. But the other condition that we have to do as a council is find a way that they become sustainable, or they lower that number, so it's not 39,000 every year on that. So they, you know, and we have to put an onus on them. You talk about the free enterprise system. They have to go out, maybe they have to go do a fundraiser. Maybe they have to do a bottle drive. Maybe they have to do something in the community. Maybe they are partners with the Fringe Festival, where they're selling the tickets and making the money on that. So, but we have to put a little bit of onus on them to become sustainable on that.
Yeah, and I'd like to track just how much activity they have there as well over that period.
Yeah, okay.
All right, I'll just mention one thing though, like with the 39,000, part of that is free rent that we give them,
20,000.
right?
Yeah, 20,000.
So
we give them 20,000.
we're given that in kind of rent, and so then the rest goes to programming. So it's not necessarily 40,000. It's the 20,000 is cash, but the rest is rent reduction. So, thank you.
Okay, I got what I wanted. I think we're all done. Yeah. Oh, okay, let's continue through the list here. Okay. Any questions on anything else on there? Yeah, well, we can, or if there's anything that sticks out, I know Ray had talked about the lights there, but that's still in the works, so the 38.4, we're keeping that in there for the lights at the pool, right? Or if there's anything else you want to add in there too, eh? So like I said, we can either, if you think there's something that shouldn't be in there, fine, or if you think there's maybe something that we should add, yeah. Okay, Mohammed?
Well, just,
Oh, yeah, Mohammed and then Ray, yeah.
Every technology has a better technology. In many companies, I know maybe they're not the big companies, but are moving to subscription things and things that you can change quickly and better technology and things like that. So I'm wondering what is 63,000, and if there is a way to, like I see in the capital budget, I see in the capital budget there is a firewall project and things that's going to happen again this year. So would actually doing that this year as capital and thinking about maybe either postponing this or looking into other options that are a little bit less expensive than this.
If somebody can maybe explain what that's all about, the security as a service? Yeah. Bruce, yeah.
The security as a service is basically we're trying to monitor absolutely everything that's coming into our environment. The days of a castle or a wall surrounding the castle only gets us so far. The reality of it is the amount of cyber threats that are coming at us are fast and furious and fast. There's several, I've been getting emails this afternoon of the next exploit that is going to be attacking SQL servers. What we're proposing in this one is that we're actually looking at a managed type of a service that would in turn, it is subscription-based, and is in turn looking at how the processes within an actual desktop are actually being happening, right? It doesn't take very much. Literally, it takes a single email where somebody clicks on a single link, and we've encrypted the entire network, and we're not doing anything. Phones would go down, computers are done, accounting is done. Cybersecurity, talk with JBS, they lost, I think, about $15 million this year due to their cyber threat. They were able to get some of it back, they weren't. The town of Didsbury just recently went through a cyber attack here in the springtime. They in turn went to this type of a service. The ability of the city to actually procure cyber security insurance will be predicated on implementing these types of programs in the future. There will become a time where we won't be able to purchase cyber insurance unless we have these types of programs in place. The reality of it is that cybersecurity is an onion, and we're trying to put as many layers between us and the threat that we're trying to protect. This is just yet one more layer that will protect us. It's not to say that any of those other layers, such as a firewall, aren't great ideas. In fact, they are. But this allows for us to try and keep on pushing the boundaries of the cybersecurity threat that much further away from the city so that we're able to operate. Worst case scenario would be is we had this and then we had an emergency, and we wouldn't be able to respond in the way that we would like to because our computers are, and that is a reality. There was a county down in Florida where somebody tried to poison their water. It's serious. The ability to spend on cybersecurity is a real and distinct threat that needs to be looked at.
Okay, go ahead, Alan.
Yeah, further to that, what was that, a year ago or so, we did have an evaluation of where we were on this, and we weren't great, we weren't totally a disaster, but it was really recommended that we try to increase our defenses as we go. And this doesn't take us up to the top of the level by any means, but with this, and this one here, if you see the budget does go up in 2023, so it's actually taking us two separate things, just doing them over 2 years, and still wouldn't get us, I forget how they had those tiers done. It wouldn't get us to the top tier, but
no, it's sort of like a 5-level pyramid. We're definitely somewhere between 1 and 2, but we definitely need to keep on improving. Like anything else, like you sort of mentioned at the top of your of the conversation, Councillor Ardeiras, things are constantly changing, and that's really the problem. The reality of is when we started, or when I started in the IT industry 20 years ago, we had days. We literally have seconds now to respond to a threat. Like what is coming at us basically at the speed of light. As quickly as it can come into the organization, as quickly as it can impact us.
Oh, go ahead then, Marissa. No, I'm just, if this is necessary, should this be in a decision package and maybe not a capital, in the capital, and maybe Shelley can answer that, like, wouldn't this, because when I see a decision package, it's one where we can sort of decide, we can kind of let it go, but if you're right in the importance of that, I think it's almost a necessity and not a want or yeah.
So the distinguishing factor of a decision package versus capital is the decision packages are operating in nature, and this is a service. So it is operating in nature, and that's the only reason. So there definitely is a chance that some of the decision packages could be large if they're operating in nature,
Okay,
as well as, but that's kind of what distinguishes the two.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I will not argue any of your points. I agree with you 100%.
Sure.
My second question is actually, did we, for a procurement this big, did we look at other options?
I looked for basically a year at all sorts of different opportunities that would enhance our security. And based upon an abundance of conversations that I had, this ended up being probably the one that was going to provide us the most benefit from a cost-benefit ratio situation. Cybersecurity, unfortunately, just does not come cheap. It's just the reality of it, the level of complexity involved, and the level of cybersecurity doesn't end at 5 o'clock. We can be just as impacted at 11:59 as we can be at 8:05. So the resources that we need to have in place in order to do this, unfortunately, are 24/7. When we looked at trying to do this in-house, they recommended that at a minimum, that the IT department would need at least 5 employees in order to have some sort of an operational rotational basis. Plus, one of those ones would probably need to be some sort of a cybersecurity expert, of which they are in super high demand, and they're costing about $160,000 in the hopes that you might be able to hold on to them for at least 2 years before they moved on to a different opportunity.
Okay, Alan, go ahead.
Obviously, I'm very supportive of this project. Not only did Bruce do his homework, but the Alberta Urban Municipalities Association, or Alberta Municipalities, how they're called now, they recognize that need for municipalities, and this is actually through them. And they went and did their homework and decided this was the best for the program that they wanted to offer as well. So
This solution here is the exact same solution that Alberta, I want to say AUMA, but it's not AUMA anymore.
Alberta municipalities.
Yeah, urban municipalities. This is the same solution that they've implemented within their environment. It's also the same solution that the town of Didsbury implemented into their environment as well. And a multitude of other, I know of no less than at least a half a dozen different municipalities that are all considering this same solution, just because we're in municipalities have a lot of contesting opportunities to use their money, right? And in the past, maybe the cybersecurity hasn't been as fully funded as it could have. And so municipalities typically are choice targets for the criminal, like for cyber type of criminals.
Okay, well, Shelley, go ahead.
I'll just add one thing if I could. In our last 2 audits, really the only audit points were based on cybersecurity, and from a financial audit point of view, and you know, it's big within the municipal finance community as well. It's an emerging issue, or actually it's an ongoing emerging issue. But that it was basically audit points for our last 2 audits is to enhance our cybersecurity for the safeguarding of our records and our integrity.
Thank you.
I'm absolutely in favor of this. We've talked about where, I think it was Saskatoon a few years ago was hijacked. And I use that word because literally they're hijacking the whole system. I think Colorado, it happened down there, different cities, and it's a global thing. One of the things though I'm wondering, so it's the first year, it's going to be 63,000. Next year, 92,000, and then ongoing. Does it ever come to an end?
I wish I could say that it, through the chair to councillor, good enough. I wish I could say that at the end of these 2 years, we will be in a better spot in 2 years. Unfortunately, like Councillor Adair mentioned at the top of this conversation, the threats to the city will continue to grow and multiply as we go along. And unfortunately, in 3 years from now, there will probably be an opportunity to find yet another solution that will protect us from a different attack vector, and will need to be considered seriously at that point as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on that? Go ahead, Bill.
Another question, I guess, I don't know why we're wasting all this time on something that's a service or an insurance policy for us. Without this computer system, the whole system, the city can't operate, period. With all the places that have had cyber attacks and all kinds of things. I know it's money, but it's not, it's very cheap insurance. Put the city down without this computer system, you're screwed, so. I think you're wasting a lot of time to worry about a few dollars. It's absolutely insurance policy.
Okay, are we everybody in agreement? We keep it then? Okay, yeah, okay. Anything else on that list here on the decision packages?
I guess I've got a question, and I'd like to get back to the pool there.
Oh, yeah.
So, when administration makes a recommendation here, so again, I guess the one I'm concerned about most is BAPS, because they didn't provide an audited statement. They gave their financial report. So at the end of the third quarter, they were running a $4,000 deficit. I suspect they don't have much in the reserves. Does the administration look at the repercussions of taking away $9,000 from somebody that's already running at a deficit or cutting it really close to the line?
Yeah, Amy, go ahead, Amy.
Through the chair to Councillor Jessica, this proposal was discussed with BAPS. We provided them the same information that was provided to council, and they've accepted it. So from the $20,000 that was for emergencies, we are giving them $6,000 from that in an increase to their retainer fee. So that's an extra $6,000 that they'll get an extra $500 a month. And in previous years, they weren't accessing that $20,000. So that's why we thought it would be better to give them the extra retainer fee that they were requesting. And then we were still able to decrease it slightly. And then they still have access to $5,000 for any other emergency funding. And then they still have $10,000 for what we call capital, but they can basically use it on any building improvements or anything like that.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Joel.
I'm kind of glad Lisa's not in the room. I don't know if she's online, but I'm kind of concerned about the public consultation platform for $10,000. The last couple surveys that we've had, it's only been a few hundred people that have responded. But I think that's for the budget scenario. Is that the whole year's worth of, because I know we do different surveys with our different groups. I'm just curious if we can expound on that a bit.
Well, I will, I'll speak for Lisa so she doesn't have to try and come on, but I'll just tell you what I do know. So it was originally proposed a $14,000 purchase, and that would have been an all-inclusive platform where, as well as budget, it would be able to be used by different departments for different types of engagements, public engagements. When this budget was proposed, we did scale it back to only the budget portion. So it's similar to what we would be doing now. With the change in citizen budget, they've increased their costs quite a bit, and we never really did have the money in the budget. We had just been absorbing it with other things. However, we've basically recommended to keep it in. It doesn't necessarily have to be that platform that we pick, but it's based on that pricing. We'd like to explore different options for budget so that we do have more participants, and that is part of our public participation policy, that we do public consultation through budget. So this particular proposal is just scaling it back to budget only.
Okay, go Marissa.
Yeah, this one also stood out to me because I recognize the public participation policy, and I feel really passionately about getting feedback from public and participating in government. However, it just seems like this is strictly on like an online platform, right? Is this just online, like an online?
Yes, I believe so.
And it seems strange, but because it just seems like any of these platforms that are strictly online we don't seem to get you know, the participation that you're looking for. And that's strange to me because we are online so much, but there's just something about this that isn't working. Because, you know, like even the last opportunity to participate in the budget, it was everywhere. It was really user-friendly. It was super easy. It took like a few minutes. And I don't know, I would just suggest that we look into different actual platforms to reach out and get public participation. Maybe just strictly online isn't the way to go. Definitely not ignoring the online portion of it, but you know, if we really want people to talk to us and not the same couple hundred people, maybe we need to look into different, I don't know, ways of, I don't know, reaching out to people. Maybe we can, because this is a subscription, this is a subscription, Shelley?
Yes, this is just an example of one of the online platforms that's out there. But I guess our goal was to change the approach of our budget consultation because of the low participation. And, you know, it looks as though a lot of people start it but don't finish it, or because it's a little bit long and cumbersome. So it's just there is a variety. It's certainly not to say that we would look at different platforms as well. In-house, we could accommodate other public consultation processes, which generally we have had we did have it for the 10-year capital plan and so on. The participation, again, was not great in person as well. So it's really a struggle. I think it's a struggle with everybody to reach, you know, your desired participation, but it's also very important, so.
Yeah, like, and I think, you know, like the one that you picked out here, that, you know, Lisa picked out, it sounds really great. I just don't know if we would get the value for the money that we'd be putting in, because, yeah, I don't think it's the actual, like, it's this program or this subscription over another. It seems like if you're doing it strictly online, you're not going to get the participation that you want. And I don't know, I think we need to really dig deeper into what are other communities doing, like what's working for other people, because the online thing is not working for Brooks. I don't think so.
Who did, when we did our citizens one, like for the budget, did we put that out there? Did we pay for that then?
So we actually purchased a three-year agreement, which came to about $2,200 per year when we purchased it. It was operated by a different company. And then recently, in the last year, that company sold to a fellow. And when we were in the last year, which was last year, and they changed the platform quite a bit. They added more features that we didn't really take advantage of too many of them because it was all about the actual survey. So it was all in that one survey. So it made the survey even longer and more complicated. So, but with that, their price increased. So moving forward, we would move from that small amount that we were able to capture for a 3-year period to more of a $7,000, $8,000 price tag. So that's what made us look around at different options. And originally, the idea of using that platform for more than just budget was what we were initially proposing. But again, having to scale it down and wanting to follow our public participation policy, we did scale it down to budget only. But there are other options, and I know communications probably could say a lot more than I can, but they are looking at different, most of it is online, the online platform, but we always try and you know, do best practices, especially when it comes to budget practices. So if there's other platforms out there, we would look at those as well.
I agree with Marissa that I think we have to kind of look at that too, because the online is just a small component of it. Because when you do a survey, and most of us are counselors, I mean, we get a lot of feedback, whether we go to a Bandits game or I'm out walking or things like that, when we're actually directly talking with people or you're at a coffee, that's where we're getting a lot of the feedback. So I think we have to look at how we approach that. But the problem with the online is a lot of times, you know, you're going to get a segment of the population, like let's say if they disagree with something, they can bombard that online stuff. Or it could do the other way, where you can bombard it in your favor too, eh? Whereas if you do and you don't want to get into phoning people, but there's sort of three components of it. Is basically talking to people personally, the online component, and then phoning people to get, to get your direct answers. My point is, I agree with Maria, we have to maybe find a better way. Maybe there's other communities that find a better way, how they engage people. Like I say, though, most of us, I mean, we're engaged, we go to a coffee shop or go anywhere, and people are giving us feedback. And if it's positive, I bring it back here. If it's negative, and then I don't. But no, I'm just joking. but anyway, that's my point. But getting back to your point, okay, Counselor, good enough there.
So you made a reference a couple of times to our policy. So we have a policy bylaw then for public engagement, just a policy in general. And that comes also, I think, recommendation through AM, Alberta municipalities. I think they've kind of put some.
Yeah.
Is it mandatory? It is a provincial, that you have to public engagement, but it doesn't tell you how.
Through the chair too, Councillor Goodenough, the policy doesn't specify how it has to be completed, just that public consultation is required to be completed for budget. Council has the ability to say that public consultation is required for anything. They could list anything that they wanted, but our policy specifically says budget, and then I think it says any other initiatives council deems or something like that, but budget is specifically listed, but it doesn't say has to be completed online or in person or anything like that.
Yeah, it could be an open house too or something like that, yeah.
Right, so consultation could look in different ways.
Yeah.
And like the coffee shop conversations or the bomber game or?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so what do we do here then with the 10 grand? Go ahead, Mohammed.
I just want to, although I don't want to change the policy and put ourselves in a place where we have to do things in certain way, when I read this, it felt like we want to scale down. I actually think we should not platform or anything, but we should actually try to scale up our consultation. When I read the survey results, people who did the survey wanted to be consulted on other things beside the budget as well. There was actually a point in the survey where it says they would like to be more engaged with the community. So we don't want to lose those. We want to add more to those. So the idea of consultation in other areas beside the budget is actually very important and need to be looked at.
Okay. Go ahead, Marissa.
If I could make a suggestion, how about we keep the $10,000 suggested here and not commit to, right, like not commit to this and table what type of platform we're wanting to, is that possible?
Yeah, would that come back to council then? Like it
we-
wouldn't take, no, you would just do it on your own then, right?
Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I would think that that staff would do their due diligence to see what they thought would reach out to the public, and then we would just try that.
Okay. But, sorry, it wouldn't come back to council committee, you would just implement a different?
Yeah, we would just implement it with whatever budget we had, for sure. And certainly this is an online approach. It's something that council had a few years ago really wanted to see. So that's why we went in that direction. And public consultation doesn't have to be online. It doesn't have to cost this much money. Because online is so, I think it's, it's the way to go now. I think that's why that we've been leaning towards that, but we could certainly do in-person consultations or to satisfy our policy. So, but we can look into different options.
Yeah, I like that idea. I think we need to look at different options because, again, just looking at the platform, the pages were viewed 2,055 times, but we only had, what was it, completion of 206. How many voters do we have in our city? So
9,000, yeah.
9,000. So that is very poor results for our dollar being spent. I would like to see some where a portion is online, because that is a reality. There are people online, but we have lots of our seniors who don't necessarily use this type of function. I think we have to reevaluate this whole process. So,
Go ahead, Amy. So you go ahead.
I'm just getting some information from Lisa here that it's part of their communications work plan to create a strategic community consultation plan next year, and that she does agree that it does work best with a combination of in-person and online. Yeah. And in pre-COVID years, they have been to Bandits Games, Tim Hortons, and the JBS Canada Centre to try to get more people to participate. So I just wanted to pass those comments on.
So the question is, do we keep it in there then for this year then? And then, I mean, it's like anything, we're reassessing it all the time or assessing it all the time. Are we fine with that? Okay. Anything else then on that decision package list there? I'm just going to bring up something here too, and it's just something I think we should be aware of, and I don't know where this goes, and maybe Alan can help me with this one. And I know they did the Save the Shuttle campaign last year, and they did very good, and I know they have enough money now to go until July or August of 2022, and maybe Amy might be able to fill in a little bit. I am concerned that if they run out of money, they're going to come back to council asking for more money on that, and we're not we're not prepared for that. So I'll just kind of open that up here too. So, anybody want to talk, Alan?
Yeah, I don't know if they have any other ancillary plans if it comes to that.
The bottom line is really, it's not, I mean, it's not really our problem. It's more of an Alberta Health Services problem, because if people have medical appointments in Medicine Hat, Alberta Health Services should be paying for that and not us. You know, that's my feeling on that. But how do we, unfortunately, it's going to come back to us. But I just want to put that point out there, that it shouldn't be our responsibility as a Brooks taxpayer to send somebody down to Medicine Hat for a specialist. You know, it should be Alberta Health Services, and maybe it's something we can talk with our MLA on that there too. But I don't want us to be bearing this burden when it comes to us, like in 6 or 7 months down the road on that. So I just want to make you guys aware of that. Okay, Councillor, good enough?
sorry. So if it does come back to us, we're allowed to say no. We're not.
Right, yeah. And we did last time, and you know, they ran the campaign and they did very well.
Very
with it,
well.
You know,
I think you helped spearhead
I
quite a
did,
bit of that.
I worked on that with them, yes.
Yeah, you did a very good job, so. I'd like to, I think eventually it'd be good to see, and I think our council, we've talked about this in the previous council, was the idea of privatization a bit more and seeing that happen. And I think, again, there's opportunities for our entrepreneurs in our city to step up and make this work where it's not a burden on the tax as a whole, but we can get it worked. Yeah.
Okay, as long as we're sort of like.
What was the price on that, $20 both ways?
Amy might, they did raise it to help cover the costs on that, they did raise it, yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head. I know it was increased, but I'm sorry, I don't
I think
have that
that's what it was,
information.
but.
Yeah.
I think it was a $25, but it's
For
not,
both ways.
not a round trip, right? Yeah, so it's $50 trip in total.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I just want this council to be prepared for that there too down the road there. Okay, anything else in the decision packages here that, go ahead, sorry, Mohammed.
Like, I know this may have come to council so many times, but the idea of public transportation in general, I know we say we don't want to subsidize things, but it is something that is, like, I don't think there is any place in the world where there is transportation that's not being subsidized by municipal or provincial or whatever government. So the idea of public transportation within the city and outside the city, because we are in a place now that we don't have Greyhound, we don't have all of these things.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you know, it's something, and maybe that's part of our strategic plan in February there too. You know, maybe we put it in you know, in that. Okay. Okay, go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, just one last comment. So I was looking at this underwater light things again. So the whole thing is $110,000, so it is pretty substantial, especially when we're kind of debating over nickels and dimes.
Yeah.
It is a safety issue, and I guess especially in places like the wave pool and the one that goes around. Just that's $4,000 a light. Is there any other way we could achieve the same objective at a little bit less cost?
Through the chair to Councillor Jessica, we did look at other options for those lights. We looked at halogen bulbs. The halogen bulbs that fit in those niches are no longer made, so they are being replaced by the LEDs. We looked at adapters to see if we could find a different halogen bulb that would fit in the niche, and those adapters don't exist. And we also, well, the other option is basically getting a new niche, which would involve jackhammering the concrete in the pool, which would likely run into other problems there. We are looking into grants, and I know I had a communication last week from Adib saying he's pretty confident that we could get close to 80% of this project funded, so.
Okay, anything else on the list here that we want to talk about? Are we all fine with the decision packages then? Everybody's fine with it? Oh, go ahead there, Amy, yeah.
Sorry, through the chair to mayor and council, I just received confirmation that it's $20 each way to
Okay.
Medicine Hat.
Oh, okay, perfect, okay, thank you, yeah. Our staff is so, they do such a wonderful job getting the answers just like that. Yeah. Okay, do we move to capital then? Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're done with the decision packages? Are we good? Okay, Ray, well, no, get some good goggles for under the water. Yeah, wear a headlight, yeah. Yeah. Okay, to capital here, okay. I don't know where to start on this one here, but yeah. Somebody want to guide us through this one here? Alan, Shelley?
Why don't you go department by department and just ask under each department if there's any questions, concerns?
Sounds like a plan. So we will go department by department. That's how the listing is organized. So the first department is administration, basically, and I think all of them are information technology related. If there's any questions or comments about those projects?
Any questions on the first part?
Sorry. So the 150,000 for firewall and network switches is on top of the new security program, right?
Yes. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Are we fine with that there? Okay, you want to move on to the next one?
Sure. So the next department is the Rcmp Building, and this was a project in the 10-year capital plan, but it's been removed from this budget as we're not at the stage of planning that expenditure, so.
Do we just now move that to 2023 and then we can move it again?
So what will happen now is after council does their strategic focus areas, staff will rewrite the 10-year capital
Okay, yeah.
plan. So that's done every 4 years, right after a new council comes in and the strategic focus areas is. So we may place it in in the year that we feel it will happen. And same with the other replacements, we'll reassess all of our assets and decide, where their scheduled replacement should be. So it's just kind of a refresh of that plan to update it. So at that time, we'll try and find as much information about the building and where we're obligated to proceed with that.
Go ahead, Alan.
This one too gets a little more complex as to exactly what you need with the province looking at its investigation into a provincial police service and how that might impact that. And even the size, they did now start charging rural members and communities under 5,000. And supposedly, they said that they would get more boots on the ground for that. And if they do follow through with that, as they said, then, that will impact the size of the facility that we'd need if we have to house more officers as well.
Yeah, so maybe next year we might have, some better answers on that one there too, on both those things there too, Okay, fire? Anything there? So the radio stay in the budget then, right? Yeah, and same with the SCBA replacements, right? Everybody fine with that? You fine with that, Kevin? Okay, municipal enforcement, the fleet replacement program. Okay, go ahead, somebody explain.
Yeah, so this is just where in the fleet replacement program, this is where it's scheduled to be
Yeah,
replaced.
okay,
a
and it will be
CPO
replaced
vehicle,
then,
yeah.
right? Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, engineering, street improvement projects. She's not here, okay. You'll have to answer that then, Sandra, you're closest by. She's not listening. I don't think, really, that doesn't, that's in there every year, right? Yeah. Go
Yes,
ahead,
we
Alan.
do that every
Yeah, yeah.
year, and every year they do, I believe, a 3-year plan rolling, a 5-year rolling plan, and it's updated every year and comes to council for their approval.
Okay. Okay, transportation.
I guess one
Oh,
question.
go ahead, yeah.
That's a big number. Does it need used up every year?
Yeah, this number is every year that we do this SIP program. Was that your question?
But that comes from our paving tax too, right? Yeah. Does most of that come from that and then from other grants too, right? Okay, Alicia, welcome back. We're talking about you.
Yes, it does come from our repaving tax and from, what was that other grant?
The
The BMTG was a portion of the MSI.
Yeah.
And now with the changes in MSI, that is something that I addressed earlier and that we have to be cognizant about because they're not mentioning the BMTG portion, but they're just kind of combining them all together. So because we're collecting a little more repaving tax than we had, we've kind of proportioned it a little bit higher to repaving tax. But we will have to be careful because a great deal of that, about 900,000, is funded, about 800,000 is funded from the BMTG portion of MSI. And with the reduction in MSI, that will affect us.
Do we spend just about everything we get in the repaving tax then, like every year, or do we have a surplus in there?
So I do have continuities at the back. I believe we have about 700,000. I opened it right to that page. We have about a 795,000 in that reserve. And then as they come in, we spend pretty much everything we collect that year. So we like to have a little bit of a pillow if
Yeah.
there are other repaving projects that become emergent that we need to have done. But basically, to fund our street improvement program, we use basically everything we collect in the year.
Everybody happy with that number then? Okay. Transportation. Go ahead, on transportation? Or which one? Yeah, that's in transportation. Go ahead, yeah.
Okay, first of all, this is probably not a great question, but each traffic light control, you're talking about like one, can somebody explain? Can you explain this to me very specifically? So I don't embarrass myself more.
Yeah, so at every set of traffic lights, there's one controller. So
Okay.
that runs all four ways.
Every okay,
That's
so
right.
one controller for each intersection.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. So my, and it is $15,000, right, for one controller, so for each intersection. So, and we're behind schedule 2 years, 3 years, 2 years. So would it make sense to do like 2 main intersections? And, because it seems like, you know, if we did this, then we could upgrade and do those red light sensors, right? That would probably be good.
Yeah, with these controllers, you can put that red light sensor on anytime. It doesn't have to be done right away. With these controllers, you can also do what we did on 15th Avenue up by McDonald's, where you can put a camera on them and set them that way to turn on, turn green, turn red. So they're an upgrade. The other ones are getting old and can't get parts for them anymore.
Okay, anything else in transportation? Okay, we're fine then with transportation then? Okay, we're fine? Okay. Storm projects there. That one's been in the works for a while there. The Sound Vibes one, yeah. Fine with that one? The other, okay. Water. Okay, go ahead.
These ones on the water main replacement, the surface irrigation replacement, those ones. How often do breaks happen? And like how much does that cost to repair one? Just curious. I guess how often do they happen first?
You can go a few years and not have any breaks, and then it just seems like when it does start, a section of pipe does start to break, it's usually just a whole bunch of breaks start happening on that piece of pipe over the next year or two. Normally, a rule of thumb is if you got 5 breaks in 5 years, it's time to replace the pipe. So we're looking at heading to just on 2nd Street West by Davis. Chev dealer there because we've been going back to that pipe every year pretty much.
And when's the last time we had a break?
Well, that one was just this last fall it broke. Yeah, we had one the year before just down further north of it, and then one the year before that just back up where this one happened, the last one. So yeah. This gets used, this pretty much does get used up. The last one we did was McKittrick. We replaced the water main in McKittrick when we did our street improvement project there, so.
Okay, that was water. Okay, surface irrigation, any questions on that? Sanitary sewer, any questions on that?
Is that kind of the same, like as, like in terms of how often it breaks down and how much it is to repair?
Yeah, with this monies here, we've been using this more for lining surfaces. We've been covering off most of our sewer main lining, the mains that run right down the middle of the road, more in our street improvement projects. So as we fix those before we pave the road the following year. So sometimes we will take off and do a main. Last year we did the one where we had the bad pipe collapse over by the tracks. So we used that funding from this onto that.
Okay, we're, waste management. Any questions on that?
If I could just, Dawn, have they found something that's a little bit more durable for the rollouts? Like, I know some of them haven't held up all that well.
Yeah, we had, when the first rollouts that came into Brooks, they're very good. In fact, a lot of those ones are still in use. Them brown ones. And then when we bought another batch, they started to break down on us after about a year to 2 years, but however, the warranty ran out. So, and that was a bad batch. And so we're constantly replacing those ones, but yet the old ones, the very first ones, are still in use. It was that second batch we bought that we couldn't go back on them with. So we actually changed providers as well.
Okay, I'm just gonna go through here. Yeah, the cemetery, any questions on that? Handy bus. Okay, into recreation there, any questions on that?
I think I actually did have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Marissa, yeah.
Oh, my microphone. About the equipment replacement program. Did we manage to save any money because of the lack of use of facilities over the last couple of years? So could we, were we advantaged by that at all? Or could we defer some of this replacement cost for another couple of years since machines probably weren't used for, the last couple of years as much? If that makes sense.
Yeah, there's a chair to Councillor Wardrop. It does, and there definitely was a decrease in usage for some of the equipment. That being said, we did have for a period of time some equipment placed out of order just to encourage physical distancing in the fitness center too. So some of those pieces weren't used, but then the other ones were used additionally. So it's just a matter, we always do condition assessments, and even prior to COVID, there would be treadmills or big pieces of equipment like that would be up for replacement that we have deferred based on their condition. So, and we will continue doing that. If something doesn't need to be replaced and we can keep it in operation for longer, then there will always be that carryover year to year.
Go ahead, Alan, yeah.
Just want to mention too, through the chair to mayor and council, the reason we did these equipment replacement programs is because it stopped the cost from going like this one year, this the next, this the next, this the next, so that it just smooths it out so that we're not always going up and down. Just a little bit more consistency in the programs.
Okay, into parks, there, any questions on that? Counselor Goodenough?
The playground equipment replacement program. Recently I had, so we've got planned 30,000 for that, correct?
So there's $30,000 in this year's budget.
Yep.
But it's again a program, so if we don't use it, we can accumulate it. So there is I believe, 120,000 accumulated.
Okay. And then, is it allotted already? Like, is that spoken for? Just, I had a park, concerned parent about one of their parks that was in rough shape, and they're wondering, hey, when can we get this looked at? And so I'm just curious how that, if you could expand on how they would tap into that.
Yeah, the park that's up for this year is the one in Meadowbrook, right on Meadowbrook Drive, I think, or Road. It's a little park. It's, that one is up for a rebuild this year. And that was brought to the Parks and Rec Board, and the decision was made by the board to move ahead and replace that park.
Yeah, one of the parks, okay.
Okay, any other questions on parks? Okay, move on to facilities. Nothing there then, eh? Not this year, eh? No. Okay, so that's the capital. Is that, yeah, okay. I'm gonna, we'll just open it up for any other general questions there, but Councillor Goodenough, you had one with the RCMP I thought was interesting there, and I think it's worth a discussion on that there.
Thanks for bringing that up, Mayor Petrie. I wasn't prepared to talk about it, but yeah, one of the questions that I had is I think it'd be good to see more of our bylaw officers and looking at how can we employ that program a little bit more. I know we've got 3 full-time now, I do believe, and I'm wondering if looking at their salaries and looking at how can we maybe increase that area, and I guess looking at maybe decreasing our RCMP to go to bylaw.
Do you want to go over the numbers, or can we go over the numbers publicly on, what you sent to us? Yeah, if you want to just go over those numbers. I think the public should be aware of those numbers there.
Sure. So we did look at the costs of an RCMP officer, of what we pay through our contract for an RCMP officer. And once the Canada Census, if our population changes, assuming that it's going to in February, we would be paying 90% of the costs of an officer, which 90% would be about $170,000 for each officer. And we did price out the all-in costs of a community peace officer, and that would include the vehicle use, probably a new vehicle or whatever, supplies, uniforms, things like that. And that would be about 96,000, I believe I said, or 100,000, sorry.
100,000, yeah.
Yeah, because we were looking at bylaw officers first. So about $100,000. So there is, I'll let Amy speak to this, but there definitely is differences in the services and the enforcement that they can execute. So Amy has some information.
Yeah, go ahead there, Amy. Yeah.
In that regard.
Through the chair to mayor and council. So currently we have 2 CPOs, community peace officers, and 1 bylaw enforcement officer. So CPOs have to take specific training that's either put on through the province or supported. The province supports the training that's put on. It's about 8 weeks long, and then they are able to enforce certain acts. So I have a list here, but probably the more important ones would be Gaming, Liquor, and Cannabis Act, and then the Traffic Safety Act. So our bylaw enforcement officer can only enforce our city bylaws. The CPOs can enforce our municipal bylaws as well as the acts that the province basically tells them that they can enforce. So they can't enforce anything criminal code, so that's the large difference between the services you receive from an RCMP officer and the services you receive from a CPO.
But they can enforce traffic, right? And so I wonder for the value of that, I think, couldn't we then, the RCMP more be diverted to other projects instead of pulling people over? I know that's an important role, but I think that our CPOs could do that too. And we would have a cost savings at that. Plus, they're, you know, to me, I think that's the way I was kind of thinking about that. And enforcing some of more of our bylaw issues would be good, more men and women on the ground in our CPO area.
But just doing a trade-off here, like if, let's say we got rid of an RCMP officer and got another bylaw or CPO, would be saving 70,000. But there are all the other trade-offs too, where they can't do the criminal stuff there too. RCMP are 24/7, whereas our CPOs and bylaws are more, let's say 7 to 5. And I know we do work some weekend shifts and things like that, but they're more those hours there too. They don't have to be. We can easily put them into other shifts there too. But that's the trade-off there, right?
And I think too, when we had, I don't want to be disrespectful, Logan, I don't know what his official title would be, but when he was giving his presentation about how he had to work some evening shifts due to the recent signage vandalism that's taking place in the evening, he was doing some of those. And so I wonder if sometimes that maybe having another member of that department would be valuable service to working towards, you know, just keeping our community safe in the evening too, along with our RCMP, of course. So, you know, just some thoughts.
Just a curious question. Let's say somebody's speeding on Castles Road and our bylaw officer goes after him. Can he go, and this guy goes out on the Trans-Canada, can we chase him out on the Trans-Canada? Or are we restricted by our boundaries?
Through the chair to Mayor Peachy, we are restricted within our boundaries. So our bylaw officers and our CPOs can only enforce within the city.
Yeah.
There is an option to have an agreement, let's say with the county, that our CPOs could enforce in only certain areas specific to the county, but we are limited to enforcing within the city of Brooks because the province gives the city of Brooks the authority to employ the CPOs, and then they're restricted basically to within our municipal boundaries.
Whereas the RCMP would be omnidirectional, or they'd be everywhere. Yeah, okay. So where do we go with this here? Like, I think in the note, I think we're committed. We can't really reduce our RCMP numbers. Maybe Alan can answer this here for a year, right?
We can make the request to reduce the RCMP numbers. They do say it can take up to a year to get there. I guess it just depends where they're at. We budget, I think we have, our complement is the staff sergeant plus 22 members. We actually budget for 20 members instead of the 22 because they're never always fully staffed anyway. So, you know, so if we, let's say we cut our number of RCMP officers by 2, now if they had full complements of 20, we wouldn't save anything, but if they could only get 18 of those 20, then we would reduce it by those 2. So,
okay.
Then you can reduce it if you wished by
Okay.
4, whatever number you thought to keep the community safe. And
Okay, just thoughts around the table, John?
I just wanted to mention that I heard today, along with 2 other councillors, that there are presently 3 RCMP that are on leave with pay because they don't have the COVID shot. Do we know anything about that?
You know what, I'm going to let, because I don't know if it's a budget item, I'm just going to, we'll defer that to another time. Is that all right? Because I think we should talk budget stuff here.
Okay.
Yeah, no, but a good question though, but I don't want to get into that. I think we should just stick with the budget stuff here. Yeah, and I know the pay thing would sort of factor into that, but that's a good point to bring up at some point here too. Am I correct in saying that there, like, we'll just stick with the budget?
Yeah,
Okay,
that, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
That hasn't been shared with staff for sure.
Yeah. Okay, any other thoughts on that? I mean, basically what we're doing is, okay, an RCMP making 170,000, get rid of that. CPO or bylaw officer go to 100,000, but now we have to weigh the services different, okay? I knew Mohammed would have a question.
Like, it's not a question, it's a comment regarding the whole thing about the provincial policing and all of that, and what would that mean. So I think discussions around that, maybe after what happens in February, and then going forward from there, we will be able to have it more in
Okay.
the
Yeah,
planning.
and I think the minister is here in January in Brooks there. What's that?
27th of January.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that note was sent out, yeah, I think, if not, I'll get it sent, yeah. Yeah, September 27th, yeah. Okay, any other discussion on that one about the RCMP? Okay, any other discussion on anything else? Are we, is that it then? Okay.
I know we've kind of had some conversations in the last about the dog park. And I'm just curious, last year we had set aside $50,000. And I know we don't have it's a temporary home where the dogs are currently at with the Kinsman Rodeo Ground. That's temporary. But I'm wondering if there's money that, like, when do we start working on that project? Or if we're going to move forward with that? I think we've got some citizens that are starting to wonder what our next step is and when do we start to budget for that?
You know what, I think, and I don't know if this is part of our strategic plan, but we talked about at our last meeting there that we should come up with some definitive answers what we want to do with the rodeo grounds within either the first or the second quarter of 2022. And then maybe we can work backwards then. If, let's say maybe we don't have the dog park there, we need it somewhere else, and then that 50,000 could be used for the fencing, elsewhere. But would that be the way to go on that one then? Like, and then, like, I think hopefully we can sort of, like, through our strategic plan in February, we can maybe discuss that. And then, like I say, have a definitive answer about the Public Works building, because we budgeted some money aside for the architect or the design of that too then, yeah.
So then just so I'm, did you want to go ahead? Oh, so just so I understand then, so we have our strategic planning in February. And then most likely then, because our budget's already settled now, we'll pass it before February.
Yeah.
So no real action on the dog park possibly until 2023?
Go ahead, Alan.
Through the chair to Councillor Goodenough. That all depends. If you do want to go ahead with it in 2023, we'd have to do a budget adjustment. Of course, our taxes would probably be already levied, so we'd have to look at some reserve funding or grant funding that we could use to carry that project on in 2022.
Okay.
Question, comment. The money for the plan for the building, we're not doing that though until we decide the actual plan for.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
Just wanted to.
I think we need a consensus from council on that. Yeah. Okay. Anything else, Mohammed?
This was easy.
Are we done?
As a first-time counselor, I think I try to study, and I use the word study literally, and try to understand and try to think about my own, like the mayor mentioned, I run on it, and my own vision and my own why I came on council and things like that, and one of the things that I felt is that even like I know the infrastructure is an infrastructure, like it's a capital budget, but even the decision budget, I felt it was heavy in things that I felt more goes towards infrastructure and things like that versus programming. One of the things I was thinking about that I would love to see this budget and I did ask about it in different ways, but I would love to see this budget in terms of, rather than department, in terms of categories, like what are we spending on travel, what are we spending on professional development, what are we spending on community programming, what are we, like, in these kind of things. And maybe I had a chance to speak with the mayor, and maybe the February process, when we go through our own priorities and our own strategic planning, is where we can influence more where the budget goes, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, go ahead, Shelley.
I'll just comment on that. So we have been implementing a new budget program, and I think I've kind of explained that to you, which should be able to produce more reports like that. I did play around with it to see if I could come up with something meaningful, but I would have to define the categories, and I would be inclined to define them similar to how we report them on our financial statements. Although this would be a cash basis budget, but as far as categories like salaries and wages, and our issue is we would call something contracted services, which would involve so many different things, from policing contracts to the mats, the person who comes and changes our mats. So I guess it all depends on what desired categories there are, but we should be able to produce reports like that, certainly for the next budget, and even I might be able to come up with something when we go to finally present this budget. But it's the reason why we're moving towards an automated budget package, because it's certainly, right now our budget is done manually, so we're just I'm kind of doing both this year, but haven't had a chance to expand that software. So it was a great request. In fact, I'm really glad you made it, because it gave me some insight on what I'd like to be able to report shortly. So I will be working on that.
Thank you very much.
So right now, we haven't really changed anything, so it sticks at 3.82, right? Or
we're
oh,
back
no,
up to 3.86.
3.86.
That's correct.
Oh, right, okay, I brought 5,000 back in. Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
So the only change that we have made in
So,
this.
but it's 3.86.
3.86.
Yeah, okay, good eye.
Yes. Is to add 10,000 to arts, culture, and heritage budget. 5 of that will be new money, which we originally had in the first proposal. And 5 will come from the Eco Brooks budget. So that budget will be reduced from 15,000 annually to 10,000.
Okay. And then give us your timelines now on where we go from here. And I know our goal was to kind of maybe get it done by the 20th, but that might be impossible. But then it would be in January sometime, but without giving the answer, whatever, yeah.
So my efforts will be forthcoming to bring the budget on Monday. I still have to, there weren't too many changes, but I still have to do a presentation. I shouldn't have any issues unless something emergent comes up, but I should be able to put it together for Monday. The budget document itself, we like to update department profiles on each department, so we can have the number part of the budget document come to council and be available for public after the 20th. And then we'll follow it with those department profiles. So we have a little bit of work just to update those. Once they're done for new councillors, they're fabulous. And there won't be too many changes. We just have to, each manager just has to go through theirs and make pertinent changes. So we will have, I should be able to bring the budget forward on Monday. If I run into any issues at all, time management wise, we will make a motion to adopt the 2021 budget, and it'll come on the first council in January, but I shouldn't have any issues. I'm hoping to have that done.
Okay, Alan.
I was just wondering, Shelley, if you should talk about when we do our budget, we do have to have a 3-year budget, and just the second and third year don't mean a whole bunch, because again, we haven't even had our strategic planning session. And so it's just putting numbers based on.
So we do a one-year budget where we pass, and then we do a forecast for the remaining 3 years. So typically, the forecast that we'll do will be stemmed from knowing, for instance, which decision packages are ongoing and which decision packages will be finished or initiatives are going to be finished. And then we do apply some inflation to each year, usually based on the union contracts and things like that. So when we present the budget, when the budget comes forward on Monday, I still have to do the forecasting part of it. But it's a loose forecast, so we give room, so we'll give decision package room. So we don't have to identify what projects we're going to do. The capital, we take right from the 10-year capital plan and do some adjustments, things that have been deferred and that. So it's a loose forecast, but it will come with the 2022 budget. And then 23 to 25, we'll have a forecast, so you will be able to see what direction we're heading in, and we won't, again, we do like to apply some inflation because it's impossible to get away from inflation, so we do it based on our best judgment. But that, again, each year, we look at that year's budget in quite a bit of detail.
Okay, go ahead, Ellen.
Just want to add to that. So she will have that proposal for 23, but when we do our 2023 budget, we'll start exactly where we did this time, back at the 2022 budget, and then move from there. So it's I mean, it's there, it has to be there. It doesn't, I mean, we don't want to spend hours and hours and hours on it, so it's not going to be the most accurate forecast for 2023.
Okay.
That's correct. I'm just going to add one thing, but the interesting thing is we did, in this budget, we're proposing a phase-in tax increase with the RCMP, so that will be reflected in the forecast. So just, large things like that. So it's a kind of a large-scale forecast, but I'll make sure that I capture all of those things, and we can see that we'll know that our increase next year in the forecast will be more than 2.1%, because that's already implied that we'll be phasing that in.
I know our number is probably maybe high, well, compared to the last couple of years there, but when I look around the province, and especially with the retro pay with the RCMP, like a lot of other municipalities, the number's been a lot higher than, 4 or 5, some of them 6, 7% there. So I think we did very good here to keep it under 4, considering the retro pay of 700,000 and then the projected numbers there. And maybe we might get lucky, and maybe the federal Liberals will, pay for that 700,000, which would be kind of nice for us too. And then maybe if our population is 14,999, maybe we might not get hit with that either the way. So yeah. So anyway, no, I mean, good debate. I thought it was an excellent debate here. The debate, whatever, good discussion from everybody on that one. And thanks to you guys too for your input on this here. Yeah. Anything else then? Okay. I'm going to adjourn the meeting.